This was the big one tonight, wasn't it? Uh, you know, if it doesn't seem like I'm happy, it's because I'm not. A lot of injuries in this game, and this was some ugly hockey. Now, people are gonna say, "Oh, playoff hockey." Yeah, but when you got a referee going, "Yep, I'm gonna let everything go," this is the kind of thing that happens, and I'm hoping that this doesn't carry over to Game 3 because Boston gets a win today. That's great, but with the injuries, if those players don't return for Game 3, it's going to really test the team's depth. Now, tonight showed that all of the rumors of Boston's demise were greatly exaggerated after Game 1, and this is going to be a long series. First period, Coyle scores from Backus. Marchand scores from Pasternak and Krug, and I felt a sigh of relief at that 2-0 because I thought, Boston at 1-0, they do tend to have trouble with leads. They did at different points this season, but 2-0, I feel more confident. And they outshot Toronto 14-7. Toronto had the only power play the first period, failed to score on it. Toronto's power play has definitely struggled. Second period, this is where the concern comes in. Torrey Krug appears to have been concussed on a hit by Muzzin. I don't have any concern that Muzzin was a cheap shot or anything like that. Krug does have a concussion history, and therefore I would be very surprised if he plays in Game 3. That left Boston at 5 defensemen. I say it like that for a reason you're about to find out. But shortly after that, William Nylander bafflingly tries to stick handle the puck badly around behind his net, and Danton Heinen grabs it and goes, "Okay, thanks," and just tucks it into the corner. While Anderson's looking the other way because he thought Nylander still had it. So Nylander unofficially with an assist on that one, and that makes it 3-0. Now, this is where it starts to really get ugly. Nazem Kadri tries to take a run at Grzelcyk, misses, ends up colliding with DeBrusk, and there's no penalty on the play, and the announcers are say, well, Kadri tried to jump out of the way, that made it worse, but it should be a kneeing penalty on DeBrusk, and I thought those two things can't both be true. If it's a knee on knee and if it should have been a kneeing penalty on DeBrusk, okay, but if it was made worse by him trying to jump out of the way, then the angle was changed by him trying to jump out of the way. Anyways, Kadri gets up and he's okay. And he clearly, from this moment on, Nazem Kadri has 2 goals in mind. 1, lead Toronto to comeback, and 2, decapitate Jake DeBrusk. This is where the game really takes that ugly turn. Boston outshoots Toronto 15-9 in that period. Toronto, no scoring on their 1 power play. Boston, no scoring on their second. Or in the second on 2 of them. You'll notice I don't track the power plays in the third because there's bigger stories in the third period. Kadri scores from Dermott and Nylander. So here's your retribution for Nylander for this. He gets some form of an allowance that, okay, I had a boneheaded play in the second, but I was in on the goal to start the comeback in the third. And Nazem Kadri played a very solid game. In and along the way, Connor Clifton gets hurt, and Boston's down to 4D. So that's concerning. Boston down to 4 defensemen in the third period against Toronto, who were buzzing pretty well around that net. And I really thought we could see a Toronto comeback. I did. But Nazem Kadri gets thrown out of the game for a cross-check to the face on Jake DeBrusk. DeBrusk did not return to the game after that cross-check to the face. Zdeno Chara got in on Kadri the same as he did last year after that hit on Wingles in Game 1. I do not anticipate a suspension. I'm being honest. I don't. But it was a very undisciplined play in response to DeBrusk, and I know Leaf fans are going to say, well, he ran Marleau. Marleau hits the stanchion there, which of course has been, it's a similar hit to Chara way back in the day on Pacioretty. The difference is there's no longer that sharp pain right there, and you don't get decapitated when you hit that corner. Marleau jumps right back up. He's fine. And Kadri with the overreaction on DeBrusk. What he should have done is go in, hit him, sure, but the cross-check to the face was a bit of an overreach. It leads to a 5-minute power play for the Boston Bruins, effectively killing the chances of a comeback for Toronto. So Kadri is both the guy who's engineering the comeback and the one who derails it in the same game. Bergeron scores on the power play from Marchand and Grzelcyk, but honestly, as a Bruins fan, I'm concerned about the fact that DeBrusk, Krug, and Clifton all appear to have been hurt in this game. They may very well have to call on their secondary players, their depth, whoever they got on that Black Aces squad, because this was a rough game for Boston. War of attrition in the playoffs, indeed. And DeBrusk, with getting hit in the face with the snapback, we may be looking at a concussion for Jake DeBrusk as well. Hopefully not. If there's 2 concussions in the same game, honestly, it helps the Leafs in later games. The Leafs are now going home. The series is tied. Nazem Kadri, likely the most unpopular player with Bruins fans right now, league-wide, which is fine because when we get to Toronto, Brad Marchand is the most unpopular player in the league with Toronto fans. Anderson saves 37 out of 41. Freddie Anderson's the only reason this game isn't 6-0, to be honest. Those first 2 periods, 29 shots by Boston, and a lot of them are prime scoring opportunities right in front of the net. Toronto's defense in this game really regressed, which is weird because Boston allows 31 shots, only one of them gets through Rask, and it was Boston's defense that was down to 4 players by the end of the game. So we'll see what happens. The only bright side was that initially when Kadri threw the cross-check in the corner, they announced it as being Grzelcyk that was down, and I went, holy crap, if that's Grzelcyk, and the Bruins are down to 3 defensemen. But still, this is a rough win. This is the kind of win that makes me nervous, and here's to hoping everybody's good to go in the next game. Hard-fought victory, but it does feel like a victory that could cost the Bruins later on in the series. Kadri may very well get a hearing for this. He may get a fine out of it. They may tell him, okay, seriously, another cross-check like this, we're going to have to throw the book at you. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not going to try to make that call. I don't think it's as bad as what he did last year, but it's careless, and it's a play from a guy that you're counting on for veteran plays. You need more out of him than that. And he's got to be under control. And part of that is on Mike Babcock. We look way back, the way back machine to the Vancouver Canucks and the ugly Moore incident. And part of what happened then, and part of what coaches have to be aware of since then, is that emotion is going up on the ice. The players are getting more and more upset. It's getting more and more physical out there. It's kind of on the coach to say this player, and in this case it's Nazem Kadri, this player, very emotional, very into it, but I got to calm him down a little bit. And you could see it with Nazem. He was getting more and more upset and more ticked off as the game went along. And it leads to this careless penalty on DeBrusk. And it's something that I know people always talk about Marchand with the slew foots. They talk about Marchand with his licking people and all this other stuff. Marchand has been relatively clean this year. He really has. I can't think of a play for Marchand this year that I say, oh, no, he should get suspended. Very clean season for Marchand. And through 2 games, he has kept his nose clean in this too. And, we'll see how things progress from here if he starts to become more of a factor. But, Kadri and to some extent Babcock, he's got to keep it all under control. Because when you don't, this is the kind of thing that happens. Good news for Boston. Tuukka Rask had a very solid game. It didn't hurt that Toronto had 11 shots, 12 shots, about halfway through the game. I think there was 5 minutes left in the second, and I think they had 12 shots. If you allow Tuukka to get his confidence, you're going to get beat like this. I'll call it an almost shutout with 1 goal against, but really, honestly, this could be a long series. And Toronto had an opportunity to go out there tonight and really kind of put the boots to Boston, put them behind the 8 ball. And Boston is not a great road team this year. They've been excellent at home, not great on the road. So if they'd won both games in Boston, would have got in their heads a little bit, and we might have seen Toronto win this one in 5. But 5 or 6. But this was a big game, and again, I know that there's going to be a lot of arguing in the comment section below this game review. I realize that Toronto fans and Boston fans will see the place completely differently. I try to be as unbiased as possible on this, and to me, you know, they need a little more finish from Matthews. Nylander's really got to get his head in the game. After the second period, the announcers in the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast crew were very upset with Nylander and the way he played up until the end of that second period. And you know, we'll see where things progress from here, and if there's a line shakeup for both teams. On Boston's side, it may be necessary because of injury, and on Toronto's, maybe they'll be looking to change some of the matchups and change some of the lines around to try to spur that offense. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. This was a massive game. There's still one to go. That's Colorado and Calgary. By my luck, it'll go to triple overtime, and I'll still end up till 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, but we'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.